big news with the combination of two of some of my favorite fast casual brands here in Southern California. Explain to me a little bit about why you decided to bring these two chains together under one company.
Yeah, they're two of my favorite brands too. So it's very, very exciting. I think for me and the team, as we announced it to the team this morning, I think everyone was like, oh my God, those are two of my favorites. So it's nice that we're getting the same reaction from everybody. And I think it solidifies the idea that we had as a team that what the restaurant industry really needed was a better for you platform, and that Tendergreens and Tocaya Modern Mexican are just these natural siblings to live under that umbrella. It wasn't a forced idea, it was such a natural combination that we're so excited that we were able to make it work, and that it's been resonating even so early on with so many people as they just hear about it for the first time.
Well, and what are the advantages in doing this? I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is the possibility of purchasing, being able to get more power in terms of purchasing by combining these two brands, which both use very fresh and local ingredients. You have very similar menus in that sense.
Well, I think it's really infrastructure top to bottom, right? I mean, I think the key point of distinction here, and what we've said to our team all morning, is operationally, from the consumer perspective, from the field employee perspective, there will be no changes, right? I mean, if you're a Tocaya Modern Mexican employee, you're going to remain a Tocaya Modern Mexican employee. If you're a Tendergreens employee, you're going to remain a Tendergreens employee. What we're working to do on the back end is to integrate the back office systems so that we can leverage G&A across two brands. Certainly there's opportunity in the long run to leverage our volume from a purchasing perspective. Not a lot of work has been done in that arena just quite yet, but certainly something we're looking at. Even in development, even for landlords that are looking for interesting co-tenancies. I mean, I think there's so many broad opportunities for these two brands to add value together and individually, right? So that's the key, is they'll be independent and individual, but they'll provide all of our stakeholders an opportunity to experience the leveraging of our size.
So do you mean there might be some co-branded units? There might be some Tendergreens, Tocaya together?
I would say nothing's off the table. We're very focused on the integration right now, which, as you know, is no easy feat. So the next half year plus will be focused on integrating where we can. And then, we're toying with some interesting ideas that we look forward to sharing with everyone in the future as they come into focus.
Well, and growth is the plan here, right? That is the goal for both brands.
Yes, absolutely. And, I think, as you and I have talked about before, the restaurant industry is evolving at such a rapid pace that growth can look very different than it has in the past. And so we're going to be evaluating all of that as we determine what the best strategic move is for either one brand individually or together. There's still a lot of work to be done there, but I think it opens up a lot of options for us.
So these are two fast casual brands that are, I would say, on the higher end. They're really more premium, fine casual, however you want to describe it. They both serve alcohol, for example, beer and wine, I think, and the choices that guests have are a little bit on the higher end in terms of pricing and presentation. Tell me a little bit about how they did during the pandemic, during 2020.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I'm a little bit more familiar with how Tendergreens obviously performed because I was in the thick of it there. I mean, last year was a challenging year for all of us in the industry. I think, both brands got really creative in terms of optimizing operations so that we could weather the storm. On the Tendergreens side, we got really creative with our product offerings to try to give consumers what they were needing during an unprecedented year. But I'm excited to share that, both brands are emerging strong. I think, certainly there's an opportunity to gain back dine-in business in the long run. And I think, with the new Delta variant, it's going to be interesting to track how consumer behavior evolves in this, again, like ever evolving landscape. We think we're out of it and then we're not out of it and then comes back. So I think both brands are doing really well, all things considered. I wouldn't say we're doing as well as probably, the drive-through concepts that are just killing it and, are up 20% over 2019. But overall, we're really happy with how we've rebounded in light of the crisis.
Well, if I remember correctly, Tendergreens did not do much in terms of delivery before the pandemic, but I know
We did actually. So,
Did you?
so prior to the pandemic, I'd say, a quarter of our business
Oh,
was from third party delivery and to go and, things walking out the door. Um, that has remained steady. And this is actually interesting as we talked about, that the UCLA panel that I sat on. Consumers' behavior has shifted a lot, right? So there's people who were never exposed to delivery and takeout, and suddenly that's part of their habits. And so we're not seeing a decline in people's connection to food at home. I think going back to what I said earlier, I think it's going to be fascinating to see how we can rebound on the dine-in side. And I think, you know, kind of connecting that to Tocaya, which has such experiential, beautiful stores where you want to go in, you want to be seen there, you want to take your friends there. And so I think, as people start getting more comfortable going back out, I see it almost being an incremental sale, right? So I don't think we're going to be losing takeout or delivery sales because people come back in the restaurants. I think we're going to be seeing, an even stronger rebound in both categories.
and would you say that for both brands, is there something that they could learn from each other?
Yeah, that's the most exciting part. I think, in the past few months, getting to know the team on the now one table side, on the Tocaya side, I have to change my language. I feel like our strengths and our skills are so complementary. And so, obviously I mentioned the Tocaya aesthetic is stunning and it really is experiential. And we hope to, leverage some of that style on the Tendergreen side in the long run. And on the Tendergreen side, we've always been very, very culinarily focused. We have executive chefs in all of our stores, and there's a strong executive chef DNA. So yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot to learn for both brands. And as I've told the team, several times, the idea is that we're going to leverage our strengths. So if there's something that we don't know that Tocaya does better than Tendergreens or vice versa, and we learn about it in these initial exploratory months, how great for us to be able to leverage that. And I think that's the key is there's not going to be any changes today or tomorrow in the next few months. We're in the exploratory phase. We're all learning. For me, it's going to be really important to learn and understand Tocaya intimately the same way that I know and understand Tendergreens, and vice versa for our new executive committee. Matt Smith, who's going to be our CMO, and Rudy Seghetti, who's the COO. They know Tocaya so well. It's like the back of their hand, and now it's their opportunity to dive into Tendergreens, learn the DNA, learn the concept, learn what differentiates us. And I think a lot of magic will come from that. So, everybody wants to know what we're going to do. And I think we're not at the point yet that we specifically know because we're in that learning stage.
Okay, and so with One Table though, is the thinking that you will continue to look for other brands to add to this group, or are you content with these two and going from
I
here?
would say not in the short term because we're going to be focused on the integration. But again, in the long term, I think nothing's off the table.